Welcome to this webinar. How to pitch to a business angel, or what makes a good startup pitch. I would sort of put it as a subtitle here. So these are just generic guidelines. And what I'm going to do is share my experience with you throughout the next hour. This webinar is integrated within a project which is being managed by Teresa Valente, who's here as well on the webinar. Teresa, do you want to give us a little bit of the context of the project and what we're achieving here and what we're doing, please?
Yes, hello, good morning to everyone. So the project is a European project, a small-scale partnership in the scope of Erasmus, and is promoted by an Italian partner that is Euroteam Progetti, and also with the collaboration as partner of Investors Portugal. And the project intends to create new paths for future economic and financial education for women with motivation to improve their career, can be in self-employment or in business. This is much focused in micro and small enterprises. So today we are making several workshops. There are a website of the project, womanmoney.eu. So you can go through this website and assist to the other workshops that we have already done. And every time that we make a workshop, this workshop will be available with a video also on the website. And very soon you will be able to go to the e-learning platform of the project, where you can have additional contents, learning contents, so that you can have more information about all this scope under financial education. So I hope that we enjoy. Thank you, Pedro, for being with us today and give you this workshop.
Thank you so much, Teresa. So a word regarding Investors Portugal as well. What is it? It's the obvious questions for those of you that do not know. Investors Portugal, it's the non-profit association that congregates all the early stage investors in Portugal, not just Portuguese investors, but investors that invest in Portuguese early stage. So that means that we do have quite a few associates from other countries. Again, we're non-profit. We collaborate with these European projects as well. Our charter is to represent the early stage investment ecosystem, and to sort of build up the bridges with the rest of the stakeholders in this fantastic ecosystem. So Investors Portugal does not invest directly. There's no fund behind Investors Portugal. This is something that usually causes a lot of confusion. What we do is we congregate investors. If there's any deal flow, we pass it along to our associates. What happens then? It's a function of the interest of the project and of the investors on the other side. The last point that I wanted to make as well, related to this, is that we do represent the sector. We do talk to the government. We do make sure that people know each other. We provide a networking platform as well. So if you by any chance think that we could help, reach out. Glad to do it. So let's dive right into this. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to use a couple of slides as support for what I'm going to say here today. Again, feel absolutely free to interrupt if needed, or to ask questions, or whatever. Here we go. I think we're fine. Are you fine with the size of the screen? Do you want it bigger, smaller? Can somebody please give me some feedback? Is that okay?
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, fantastic. So let's dive right into it. Agenda for today. So very simple. Who's who? So I'm going to talk just a couple of seconds about myself. I've already talked about what Investors Portugal is, and then I'm going to go through a couple of things. What's on an investor's mind? You'd be surprised how many times I have the feeling that people have not thought this through before engaging with an investor. It's just, oh, there's somebody there with a label on their forehead that says investor. Let's just give him a pitch or her a pitch. Okay, it does not work exactly like that. Or you could try it, but the results are not necessarily the best. Then there's another thing that usually is highly missed, which is preparation. And then there's the execution part, and then there's the follow-up part. So this is not rocket science, but I think just structuring it like this says a lot about the process. So here we go then. So who am I? So I'm originally an engineer, which very quickly turned business. I spent about 30 years of my life in the enterprise IT world, mostly around business development, sales, and alliances and partnerships functions in other countries, managing regions, etc., for mostly big American IT multinationals. Today, what do I do? So I teach strategic management consulting at Universidade Católica here in Portugal. I run Business Plug, which is a consulting company that is now taking Web3 into the corporate space from the strategic marketing and implementation / technology point of view. We're using materials that were done within the context of Business Plug. I also am in the very final stages of putting together an investment fund to invest in Web3 startups. That is the thesis, not anything else, Web3 startups. I can tell you the reason, which is quite easy. I've lived through the very early days of the internet. When I look at Web3 now, it's just deja vu all over again. So in those days, I was very young. I'm not that young today, but I'd like to think that I know a little bit more about what's going on. And for me, it's just deja vu, and I see exactly the same problems or the same issues being replayed. And I believe that I see where the world is coming in the very near future. So I want to be on the tip of that wave, so to speak. What else do I do? I've just put together a Web3 Coding Academy as well. That was one of the missing pieces of the puzzle. So therefore, it made all the sense in the world to put it together. And I'm also a member of the board of Investors Portugal. So that in a nutshell, that's it. What does Business Plug do? We live at the intersection of people, capital, and innovation, and we sort of put together know-how, leadership, experience, and knowledge, and network, and all of those fantastic things. And we basically deliver Web3 business transformation services to customers. Why? Because we care, because we communicate, because we know, and because we have the right people. So in a nutshell, that's it. If you then, the materials will be available. If you then want to go into what type of services we deliver, you'll have it in here, but it's basically enablement, strategy, marketing, and then technology / implementation. So let's go right into what is on an investor's mind, and I'll do this from my own perspective. I've been a business angel for about 13 or 14 years, and at the end of the day, it boils down to a couple of very, very simple things. So the first thing is the idea, okay? And the trick here, a lot of people like to talk about it in a very systematic way, like what is the total addressable market, and what is the serviceable addressable market, and there's a lot of science behind it. At the end of the day, I mean, it comes out of an Excel. So that basically means that you can put in there whatever you want, as long as you find a narrative to go along with that story. It's debatable if it's true or if it's false. But what does matter is if it's a good enough idea and if there's enough people that would be interested in that. Be careful, because there's a ton of situations where you have a solution in search of a problem. I'll repeat it, a solution in search of a problem. So it's a solution to a problem that people don't know that they have. And it's extremely difficult to run that play. Because if you don't know that you need something, how come you're gonna feel the pain and feel the push to buy it? Okay, so it's fine to find solutions, but please, with both your feet on earth, and to problems which already exist, and especially if they're painful problems that actually hurt people, the better. Okay, so it's the quality of the idea, and if there's enough people that would be interested in this. So that's what usually those slides about the total addressable market and the serviceable addressable market and all those fantastic things, that's what they want to convey. But I found out that a lot of people have no idea what they're doing when they're presenting that type of slide. Okay. Another thing is, it is not rocket science to get to do some very quick back of the napkin calculation and find out if it's big enough or not. For example, if you're doing a product for people that own dogs with 3 legs, it's not very difficult to say there's this many people in the country or in the continent or in the planet. There's so many dogs. Usually, let's say that 20% of people have pets and maybe 10% have dogs. And out of these dogs, so how many will have 3 legs? So it's really, really easy to sort of validate the thing. You don't need to go down to the very detail of it, but you can sort of feel, if you're experienced enough, you can sort of feel if it makes sense or not. Okay, there aren't that many 3-legged dogs. Okay, so if you're doing a product for that market, be careful. So this is the first one. The second one, which it's debatable, sometimes I think it's even the first one, is, are those people in front of you the right people? Sorry. Are those people in front of you the right people to execute what they're saying? So there's quite a few of us here today. We could just sit down and brainstorm a little bit for ideas. We would come up, I'm sure of it, with some fantastic ideas in half an hour. We would not need any more than that. But then those are ideas. What happens next is execution, and it's old-fashioned sweat, the stinky one. So it's really working and making the thing work, which is usually not easy at all. So you can come around with a fantastic idea. If you cannot execute it, or if you are not the right person to execute it, or better said, if you are not the right team to execute it, it's not going to fly. It is not going to fly. I'm going to repeat this. Okay. And the other thing, which is a sort of truth or secret hidden in plain sight, is that the team and the skill set that it takes to take an idea from idea into a product, or to MVP, if you will, so to perform the first level of the staircase, is most probably not the right team to do the scaling. it takes a very different skill set to be the founder, which by definition, when you're very early into the process, you need to do a lot of things. So you need to be extremely flexible. You're basically a generalist that does not quit. That's the profile that I would put in there. If you're scaling at a later stage based on top of a business model that you've already tried and that you've demonstrated that it works, then it takes people that are more systematic and more process driven. These two people are not the same. You can count by the fingers in one hand the amount of people that can sort of play on both fields. It is not the common type. So a lot of times what happens is that you need to change the team as you grow the company, which means that original founders need to understand when to step back and when to get new people in that do things in a different / better way than they do. And believe me, it is extremely important to know what you do well, what you do so-so, and what you don't do well. And what you don't do well, run away from it like it's hell. Because the result at the end of the day will not be good. You will not be happy, you will be frustrated, and you know that you will not have delivered. The sort of stuff that you do so-so, I mean, if there's no other option, do it. Otherwise, get somebody else to do that. So, two things. The quality of the idea and the size of the pain that it solves, and the team. Okay. Another 2 points that I would like to make is the following. If investors are always in it for the money, always, it's not because of the team, it's not because they're nice, it's not because the project is fantastic, it's not because the project is going to change the world. By definition, investors are in it for the money. If you find an investor that is not in it for the money, it is not an investor, you're not pitching to the right person. I'll say that again. If you find an investor that's not in it for the money, get away from them. Because that means that that person will not behave according to the incentives that are in place. And the incentives are very simple. You put a quantity of money in, and you let time pass, and after a certain period, you take another quantity of money out. And the quantity that comes out necessarily needs to be a lot bigger than the quantity that went in. Okay? Because if you're looking for 5% a year, you go to the bank. Or you take risk in bonds or stock market or whatever you want. Not in a risky business like a startup. So investors are in it for the money, and even if you have not figured that out, a good investor will, when they invest, will have already sorted out an exit strategy. Meaning that it will be very, very clear in their minds when it would be a good time to exit and who should they sell their position to. And the fourth point is usually business angels like to get their hands dirty. So this plays into different types of investors. Typically, venture capitals are more hands-off than hands-on. It obviously depends. But business angels usually are people or individuals that have significant expertise in terms of industry and like to get their hands dirty. And this is something that you could and should leverage. if they know the industry, if they can help you find customers or structure ideas or do this or do that or find suppliers or help you doing whatever, take advantage of that, because otherwise most of them will feel a little bit frustrated, and what they do not want is to talk to you in the beginning, send you a bank transfer, and then come back a year or two later to see how the thing is going. I'm ready to go for the next one. I have not seen any reaction in the chat. If somebody has any questions, we can get back to it quickly, or you can just raise your hand now and put up your questions if you want. Anything?
I put here some observation, Pedro, just an observation. That is, sometimes this small business, even if they have a great idea, they have always, and they ask sometimes to us, the Investors Portugal, oh, but it's possible that the investor wants to keep with the company or to the idea or steal or something. That's never happened, because the investors, like you have told, it's always looking for the return of their money. Yes?
Yeah, always, by definition.
Yeah.
If it's a professional investor like a VC or a syndicate or whatever, there's no point in being a professional investor if you do not plan your exit and if you don't have returns. Otherwise, you're just burning money. Simple as that.
Okay. It's just
some angels can get in love with a company and the idea, but at the end of the day, it's money. Let's not beat around the bush or kid ourselves.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe we go into the next one, which is preparation. So the first one is, what do you want out of the meeting? What do you really want out of the meeting? So there's always this huge mismatch in terms of expectations. Like sometimes it seems like people want to come in, have a 10-minute conversation and leave with a check. Although sometimes this happens, especially in bigger markets like the US, assume you are not that person. Because it's very difficult to evaluate an idea based on a 10-minute conversation. If people give you money based on a 10-minute conversation, it's either because you have a fantastic track record, and whatever you do, people just bet on you, or they just want to give you money, and you're lucky and you found somebody who's willing to give you a check without understanding what on earth is it that you're doing. So there's a process to this, and what I found out is that a lot of times entrepreneurs have no freaking idea what they're doing. They go and meet somebody, and it's like, okay, so what happens? And I'm going to explain to this person in 10 minutes or 15 minutes or half an hour or whatever it is, everything. And I'm going to tell them my life story, why I'm here, what's the company all about, what we've done, and this and this and that. Would you say that this is feasible or even normal? Is there somebody on the other side who's willing to do all of this and take in all this information and think about things and consider things and do their homework and whatever with just one simple meeting? And you could even start before that. Do you know what you want? Do you really know what you want? Because a lot of the times is, I want 500K. And what if it was 250? Oh, 250 is fine as well. And what about 100? Oh, 100 is also good. And what about 1 million? Oh, even better. But why? Do you really know what you want and what you need it for? It's not easy to spend money in a way that is reasonable and does not shame you. Try it. Just try and get the money and spend it in something that makes sense. As if you're talking to somebody else and say, look, I've done this and I bought this and I put money here and I put money there and so on and so forth. This is not an easy task. If you bring too much money into the company very early, you might not be able to deploy it. And this is a problem. This is a very big problem. If you ask for too little, then maybe you don't have enough money to get to critical mass or to buy whatever ingredients you need to buy or hire the people that you need to hire so that you can execute on your strategy. So be really clear about what you want and how you're going to role play it with investors and what you want out of each step of the meeting. Are you doing the 3-minute pitch? Then the objective is to get people interested on what is it that you're doing, not to show them the full business plan. The objective is to get them to come to you and ask questions later or schedule a meeting or whatever. It's not to explain the whole thing in those 3 minutes. And the other question is, why are you investing your time and forcing others to dispose of theirs? So the strategy around, oh, I know, I'm going to get a list of investors and I'm going to carpet bomb the whole thing. So I have no idea who these people are, and I'm just going to go and pitch to every single person. Would you say that this is an interesting strategy? Maybe not. We've got a hand raised. Dinesh, do you want to submit a question?
Yeah, thank you, Pedro, and good morning to you all. So far, very interesting. I do have some questions because it's the first time that I'm on the entrepreneur side. I've been on the other side of on the public sector with Ministry of Finland behind me as a commercial counselor of Finland to Southern Africa. So Slush, if you haven't heard about Slush.
I've been there.
Yeah, okay, so we were part of the organization and I was fortunate enough to be in the startup scene in many angles and perspectives until I decided to just quit and launch my own consultancy and advisory board and came back to Portugal, which has been a challenge so far. There are many ways, and I always asked my companies to be very smart and catchy on their pitch, and clearly the best of the world have no idea. They're terribly how to pitch. Like if you hear a Finnish or a Danish pitching, they're terrible. They don't know how to sell themselves. Yet they are the best of the world in so many things like, you know, bio and circle economy and Internet of Things and ICT and digital and etc. and gaming. I mean, now that I'm on this side, I am asked to prepare my pitch and my elevator pitch and my 5-minute pitch. And I have a problem. I can't keep it short if I need to touch all of those 10 points that are crucial for either for a VC or an angel. How to do it? What is like really you, Pedro? You've been, you know, icon. So I look at you as a role model, you know, Portuguese going abroad and having success in the startup scene. That's not an easy task.
Ines,
What
can
is-
I answer?
Yeah,
It's right in front of you. First bullet, clearly define what you want out of the meeting.
cool.
So, I mean, you're going to pitch, is it 3 minutes? What do you want? You want a next meeting. That's it.
Yeah,
Don't
Yeah.
go about and explain the whole thing to everybody.
yeah.
You want a meeting, that's it. So
Yeah.
if I would stop the webinar right here, in terms of, and would tell you, if you want to know more, please come next week to the next webinar. Would you come or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's it. I've done my job.
Cool. Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And thank you so much for that perspective, because I really don't feel comfortable with the idea that, my project, I have to roll it up and not having to explain and burning the opportunity. That was just not enough.
Yeah, and that's a very nice segue into the next one, which is you need to know who your audience is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you need to do your homework and to know who's on the other side and profile them. Again, I was talking about carpet bombing, a list of investors. It's one of the most stupid strategies that you can think of. At the end of the day, this is a numbers game. So if you try long enough, hard enough to a significant number of people, you will end up with something. Okay, but it could be on your 1,000th pitch, and it doesn't have to be like that. So you need to maximize your probabilities and to minimize the time and effort that you put into this. So you need to profile people. I mean, sometimes I get pitches of restaurants. I would never go near a restaurant. I go there every day. And for me, it's still a mystery how I sit down at the table, I look at a piece of paper, I point to something, and 10 or 15 minutes later, there's a plate of food in front of me. I have no idea how to run a restaurant. I would never invest in a restaurant business. Ever. So at the end of the day, I mean, profile the people, know who's on the other side. Has this person invested in the sort of projects that you're proposing? Or are you pitching sustainability to somebody who couldn't give a damn about it? Are you pitching biotech to a deep tech investor? Well, maybe there's some touch points in there, but do you think it's probable that you're going to get to something at the end of the meeting? Maybe not. So the profiling thing, it's absolutely crucial. Do not spend your time and other people's time on things that are just not poised to work. Have you researched the people you're going to talk to? Do you know what they do, what their background is, what they're probably going to like or dislike, what sort of questions they're going to ask you or not? So sometimes I sort of feel a little bit amazed that no thought has been given when I pitch to regarding this type of things. Another thing, situational context. So where is it? What is it going to be? How is it going to happen? How much time? Is it slides? Is it just a conversation? Is it a contest? Is it a fair? Is it the web summit? What is it at the end of the day? So I get a lot of pitches, like people just say, oh, okay, so let me show you my presentation. I don't want to see your presentation. I've seen millions of PowerPoint presentations in my life. I don't want to see one more. If you're not able to talk about your business in a very simple sentence, there's something wrong with it. If you cannot explain it to a 5-year-old, there's something wrong with it. If you want a decent example for that, there's a channel in YouTube where they sort of entertain themselves explaining. They get an expert, and that expert has to explain exactly the same topic to couple of different people, like PhD, person with a university degree, person with a high school degree, teenager, and a 5-year-old child. And this could mean, for example, explaining relativity theory to a 5-year-old. If you're able to explain relativity theory to a 5-year-old, you really know what you're talking about. You can really get to the essence of things. If you can't, go home and do your homework, please. And then the thing becomes, where is it? Where am I going to be? Is there a screen? Do I need slides? Is it the right type of thing to do? What is the people's mood? Is it at the end of the day and people are tired and they just want to lean back on their chairs and feel a little bit more relaxed and they want a lighter conversation? Is it the beginning of the day and everybody's highly energized? Is it the middle of the day and people are struggling to manage their agenda because they're running from one appointment to another? Do you really want to be the person that's holding down the person on the other side whose only thoughts is, I need to get to the next meeting very, very quickly, which is really important to me, and this person will not shut up? So please consider the other side, consider the environment, consider the logistics, give it a little bit of thought, because it does not hurt. Now, I want to give you some theory behind this as well, if you want to research it further. There's one point about storytelling, okay? So as humans, we all like storytelling for a very simple reason. We grew up listening to stories. Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, I mean, whatever. We like stories. Take the time to tell the story. It's not just hard facts. We are wired, our brain is wired to listen to a story, not to just absorb hard facts just like that. So get a narrative behind your pitch. Get a layer that sort of transports it to the other side in an interesting way, in a way that people understand and relate. And there's an emotional connection to what you're saying and in between the two sides of the table. So get a story behind it. The difference is simply amazing. It could be the difference from people reminding your pitch at the end of the day after listening to 10, or you've just gone down into the hole of oblivion because you're just like everybody else is. The other thing is, people do not have a very big attention span, and it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter. If I asked you, how many books have you read this year? And that means in 26 days, I'd be surprised if there were a lot of hands up here within this this crowd that's on this webinar. People, more and more, and this is especially true of younger people, have a very short attention span, and they do not have the patience to sit through some very long talks or very long stories. That's why you see TED Talks that take 10 minutes, 4 minutes. That's why pitches take 5 minutes, 3 minutes, because people don't have the patience and are not wired anymore to sit through very long things. And then there's another thing. This is a little bit of theory as well. The human brain cannot retain more than 5 bullet points, plus or minus 2. So this depends on the person. So do not try and get more than 5 messages across to the other side. It is not a good idea. Pick what are the messages that you want to put to the other side, and craft your story around it and make sure that those messages get delivered. And these must be the most important ones. If you want to be sure that this is going to get to the other side, stick to 3. There's 3 messages. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, not more. If you have a little bit more, you can maybe go as high as 5. Not many people can do 7, and more than 7, it's absolutely out of this world. And the corollary of all of this is improvisation usually leads to disaster. Do not try and wing it, because it is not a good idea. The probabilities are that you're going to screw it. Prepare it, do your homework, get your story right, think of what are the messages that you want to get to the other side. Done. Execute. Think of who's on the other side, what is the situational context, and you'll be fine. It will not work all of the time, but at least you will have maximized a little bit the probabilities of success. Any questions before we go to the next one, the execution part? No?
No questions in the chat, Pedro.
Pedro, I just have to thank you so much. I have a very important, I'm gonna do the official opening of my business tomorrow.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. And so I have a high-level official also addressing some words in a very diverse audience. And you just said something that was really, really important, that because people sometimes they don't understand, like they ask me, what do you do for a living? Or what is the House of Portugal? And I said, well, we bridge people and businesses. And people like look at me like, what is that? But they don't ask. I want them to ask, what is that? That's exactly what I am expecting them. And then sometimes they do. And I say, well, good. Now you are interested. It's valid that I spend my time telling you what I do. What is this bridging people and businesses? And I was looking for a sentence to start tomorrow, my opening, and I think that you just gave me that platform that I needed, that one catchy paragraph or two to land the people for the presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm happy that I've been of service to you. So let's go to the execution, because I also want to give you some real things to work on if you're interested in doing that. So a couple of suggestions that you can have in your pitch if it applies. And you will have seen here that I'm practicing what I preach, and there's exactly 7 bullets here. Not one more, not one less. So I'm right here, I'm right on the limit of the 7 messages that I want to get to the other side. And what are they? I mean, if you're structuring your pitch, consider covering these 7 topics that are here. What is the problem that you're solving and why? It's relevant to understand the why behind things. I mean, if you're solving a problem about whatever, I don't care. It sort of gives a hint in terms of what's the motivation of these people to sort that problem if you tell the why. Oh, I don't want to have dogs biting me, so I'm going to invent something that prevents dogs from biting people. I've been bitten once by a dog. Totally different. Then I think it's a good idea, but tomorrow I might find something else which is even a better idea, and then I'll lose interest on this one. So there's got to be something behind it. And if you explain the exact motivation, it really helps. Okay. The second thing is, what is it that you do? And a lot of people like to play a game which is bullshit, which is, oh, we help people doing this or doing that, but they never explain why. We help people go from point A to point B. Oh, fantastic. Everybody needs that. But how exactly do you do that? No, we help people go from point A to point B. Okay, but how do you do that? We help them, we transport them. Okay, but how? Well, we'll figure it out as we go along. Is this an interesting startup idea? So what is it exactly that you do and how you do it? It's also highly relevant. Third point, what's your secret sauce? Okay, so in other words, what is it that you do that nobody else does, and or that you do better than everybody else? And that's the reason why customers are gonna run to you like you were the last Coke on the desert. Fourth point, who is the customer? And this can derive into a couple of things. Who's the user, who's the customer, who pays for the product, if it's the same person, if it's not the same person. So what is the profile of the customer? What are the people or the businesses that are going to buy from you? And why is that? Another one, we go into the who are you? We've already covered this. Why are you the right people at this stage to go from point A to point B, or from idea into MVP, or from MVP into scaling, or to go from whatever into unicorn? Why is it that it's you and not your neighbors or your friends or your brothers or your sisters? Sixth point, does it scale? Okay, again, we go back to the comments in the beginning. Is it a scaling thing? Do we have a big enough market so that we can scale this operation? Do the economics play within your favor? If you run a restaurant does not scale. Because in order to scale, you need more room, more people, more food, more everything. And at a certain point of the curve, you might have everything extremely optimized, that in order to do $1 more or €1 more, you need another table, another cook, another person to tend to the tables, and so on and so forth. And that does not scale. Or I should say, it does not scale exponentially. Scales linearly, and that's not interesting, at least from the point of view of an investor. And finally, and you would be surprised how many times this happens, it's like, what do you want at the end of the day? What is it that you want? What is the call to action after the conversation? You've presented your idea. And now what? What do you want from people? Do you want them to give you advice, give you money, give you time, introduce you to possible customers, prospects? Is it clear on your mind what you want out of each one of these interactions? Because if it's not, why are you having it? And then to finalize, there's the follow-up. Okay, and the follow-up is extremely simple. What happens next? So what should happen next? Do you have in your mind a clear process where it says, okay, I've met this person, I've explained this thing to this person, what I want out of it is this, what are the next steps? What is the next step of the process? what happens next? What should happen next? Do I just go home and sit and wait for a phone call? Probably it's not the best strategy. Do I come back? Do we agree on next steps? And the follow-up is, I mean, you've done all this effort in order to get the first interaction with this person. So why not put more homework into what comes next than what you've put in achieving that initial step? There's a phrase which is very simple and it illustrates the thing, which is, what got you here won't get you there. So you've done the pitch, you've produced the slides, you've executed the meeting with mastery. Okay, done. What next? And Q&A, and that's it. That's what I had to tell you today. So completely open for questions. There's one in the chat about sharing the PPT. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. I think Teresa will put it on the platform, and everybody can go and check it out if they want. Any questions? Interact. Come on, people.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, sure. Go ahead,
Hi,
Paul.
How's it going? I wanted to ask one question. This is more of a practical question. So I think it has to do with what do you want from each interaction that you have. And so one of the things that we've had some trouble with is kind of finding the investors that will invest or potentially invest in us in the next stage. And so cold calling, we've realized, is not a good way to approach those investors. And so do you think it's a good idea to kind of, when you're looking for people to interact with, to shoot everywhere and then ask for more interest, and then once we're at that final stage where you're starting to ask for a potential investor or something like that, investment in this case, to kind of narrow down, and so you can have more choices to pick from? Or
so you've said something which is really important in there, which is get a warm intro.
that's right, yeah.
Cold thing, it's, I mean, that's what's in the name. It's cold, right? So at the end of the day, I will always pay more attention if somebody refers somebody to me, because that person's credibility is at stake as well.
Sure.
So if somebody comes along and says, "Oh, you should check this out," and at the end of the day it's bullshit, I mean, I'm going to tell this person, why did you send them to me? I've got enough on my hands, and why did you make me lose an hour or half an hour of my life with something that was just not worth it? I mean, you're supposed to know me well. You've sent me somebody who wants to set up a restaurant when you know exactly that I would never go into the restaurant business. So that's the reason why warm intros are nice. It's because there's already a filter in there. So if it's something that I really consider, and if they send it to me, oh, this person that I really considered has sent to me these people, okay, I better listen to them. Now, you need to get to this stage, okay? And in order to get to this stage, you need to get the intros, and in that sense, you need to make the world know that you're looking for warm intros, okay? But then again, I mean, carpet bombing is never a good idea, because you're going to piss off a lot of people. And you're gonna get some antibodies on the way as well, because if you carpet bomb, you'll end up annoying people. Like get a trainee and set them out on LinkedIn doing intros left and right, and with a fake profile and all of that. I mean, what's the value in that? I'm sure that all of you get these types of things, people trying to sell you something, and you can spot the fake profiles a mile away. So at the end of the day, it's always a good idea to sort of think of it in a little bit of a more strategic way. Like, I want to get to these types of investors. Who do I know that could potentially know people that could know people that would know these types of people, for example, and go through that path instead of putting an ad on TV.
Okay.
It does not mean that the ad on TV will not work, but it'll cost you money, time, and you'll be just shooting in every single direction. And the other point of it is you will never know what worked when it does, so you cannot repeat it.
Yeah.
We're a minute away. I'll just take one more if it's a quick one.
Vanya has the question in the chat. The question is, when is the right time to start pitching angels?
Well, you be the judge of that. Do you know what you want? Do you have your thing organized in your head? Have you gone through all the steps? Are you ready to raise? Do it. If you're asking the question, then the probabilities are that you're not at that stage. Because otherwise, it will be so evident to you that there wouldn't even be a question.
Yes, I am not at that stage yet. I was just looking for if there's like a sign or something like that, but no.
It's going to come from your gut. I mean, when you feel that you cannot live anymore without pitching to an investor or an angel or whatever, then it's time to do it. Well, the right time must have been a little bit before, so that you wouldn't feel so stressed. But then again, usually that's when people start to feel the pain, that they go to the doctor, not before they feel the pain.
Okay, thank you.
It's 10:01 here in Lisbon, so I think I'm going to close this.
So thank you all for all the participants. Thank you, Pedro, for this great session. It was like one of the comments here. It was epic. We really liked this one. So we're gonna invite all these participants for next sessions. We will keep in touch. Go to the website of the project, go to the website of Investors Portugal, and we'll try to keep with all the information about all this project and all the activities that we are doing. Okay, so thank you very much to everyone.
You've been an incredible audience. Take care and stay safe.